What's up, guys? Welcome to another edition of Josh Talks. I got a special guest this week. We are going worldwide. We are hanging out all the way in Australia with you call him the heart or the soul or just the hair of Australia professional wrestling. He is Landstorm's favorite student, supposedly, and he is more cash money than Lil Wayne, Juvenile, and the Birdman combined. This is Carlo Cannon. What is up, sir? Good to see you.
Man, that was a good intro. That was very good.
That's what I do. My intros are great, and then it's just downhill.
Okay, so we've reached the peak.
Right. So if you want to wrap it now, I can understand completely.
Yeah, thanks for having me, man. I really appreciate the intro.
That's our show this week, guys. Thanks for
being good.
But yeah, I mean, how have you been? I mean, obviously, the first thing I really want to know is, because everyone everywhere is obviously going through the chaos that is this pandemic.
Yep.
What is the experience like in Australia? Like, what is going on in your neck of the woods with all this?
Oh man, like here at the moment, we're currently. So I'm in Victoria, so it's a southeastern state in Australia, and we are the only state currently on lockdown. So the rest of Australia have restaurants open and have started to have sport back and people going to sport. And we've been called Sicktoria because we have the highest case of COVID apparently. And we're on like a stage 3 lockdown where masks just got made mandatory last week. You can't leave your house unless there's like for 4 specific reasons, like, medical, work, groceries, or to care for someone. So I called the police to make sure I'm allowed to go to my business. So I'm allowed to like come here and make sure everything's still working and not on fire and everything's still good. So I happen to be at the school currently, but it's been pretty full on here. So we had our first lockdown. We came out of it. They gave us a tease of having restaurants and seeing people. They opened gyms, and literally like the day that we were supposed to have like allowed to make contact so we could probably do wrestling training, they shut it all down. So we're back on lockdown. So it sucks watching the rest of the country live a COVID normal, I guess.
It sounds like it's almost identical to Los Angeles.
Yeah, I was speaking to a couple of guys there, and they said it's pretty full on there as well, huh?
Yeah, because we were locked down for a while. Then they started kind of going to phase 2. It's like, okay, gyms are starting to open up, restaurants, not but like slowly but surely. And then people are just like, yeah, we don't need masks. Like, what? And they're just like, oh, well, you know what? You guys are pretty much gonna stay home again for a while.
Wow.
So yeah, I mean, we're actually in fairly similar boats, it sounds like.
Yo, we both in lockdown.
Just about. Yeah. So I mean, that's why I spend my time on Zoom and on Skype making YouTube videos and trying to talk to friends that I haven't seen forever, because got to do something with my time.
That's true, man. And like, that's the best thing about this technology, right? Like I think about it now because we're now running our classes online, and I've got students from all over the world. We've had like some really cool guests on, and it's like, it really is either you adapt or you perish. Like we figured out that we could do this online, and now it's, we're taking advantage of, like, some of these guys have to pay heaps to get a seminar from some of these dudes. And I guess because they're good guys and they're friends of mine, they're jumping on and helping out. And it's a great opportunity, I guess, considering we can't get in the ring and do anything physical. So, I mean, this is cool, man. I haven't seen you in like, what, 5 years?
We were just talking before we started recording, like, yeah, 4 to 5 years that you were out here.
Yeah.
For a little while, where we got to hang out. We first met over at the AfterBuzz Studios, and it was just like, oh, you seem cool, and you're just like, yeah, you're all right, and
you read my mind.
So yeah, I want to know, with your experience, where else have you actually, Russ, besides Australia, besides America, where else have you performed?
So I've been, obviously, around the US, all over Australia, around Canada, and I was just in Malaysia. So I was taking over Southeast Asia. That was my next conquest. I was wrestling in Malaysia, and then I had Singapore and the Philippines on my schedule and coming back to the US this year. But All that kind of obviously went to a halt. But yeah, I was recently I was wrestling monthly in Malaysia, which was incredible. So my sponsors, OG Nerd, they're an awesome streetwear label here in Australia, and they sponsor me, and they've really been like, I guess they see the vision and they see my dream and they see that like how hard I work and they wanted to be part of it, and they were helping me get overseas and stuff. So most of the times when some companies financially it's not the best for them, like to pay for everything, and I wanted to help them out, and I said, look. I spoke to my sponsors, and they were covering and helping me get over there. So Malaysia was such a dope market and a dope fan base to wrestle in front of.
Which country had the most unique locker room atmosphere?
Bro, in what way? Because like I've been in a lot of locker rooms. I've changed in like pretty much like a broom closet with like 7 other people in the same room, and we all take turns sitting down to get dressed and stuff. I've been in that room. I've been in a locker room in Canada where there's no toilet. So there's a gigantic garbage can in one of the cupboards that everyone would pee in. It's disgusting. And I don't know who used to empty it at the end of the night, but that was, I remember that. I've been in a lot of interesting locker rooms, man. Even like, my second match ever, I remember it because Lance had got us the booking, and it was like out pretty far, and Lance literally got us the booking and he drove us out there. So, he was going to drive, he's going to watch our match and film it from the stands, all that kind of stuff. This story is the next level in itself. But I just remember pulling up to the venue after like a couple-hour drive. It was dark, and there were like 2 dogs like on chains just roaming out the front. Like kind of, and we're like, is this the right place? Like, yeah, I don't know if they were guard dogs or like whatever. I just remember them being on chains and just guard out the front. Maybe they weren't on chains. I don't know. I just remember 2 dogs and me, Lance, and the guy was wrestling, Derek. We were like, this is a bit full on, man. I just remember that. And yeah, that was an interesting night, especially for your second match ever,
Yeah. And obviously, so Lance Storm was your trainer, and he's brought you up many times of all the different things he's done in various interviews and social media and stuff like that. Why do you suck up so much to him? I'm kidding.
I hate you so much.
What is, obviously you guys have had a long, trusting, relationship with each other. So what really made that stand out that, you've still been this close with Lance Storm all these years?
For me, it's kind of crazy. Like, I guess when I was growing up, and I think I've told a few times, but like when I was growing up and watching wrestling, like I'm very lucky to grow up during the Attitude Era and during like the peak of ECW. So like that was what I grew up with. And we didn't really get ECW in Australia. So I would tape trade and get as much, whatever I could find. And it wasn't like the internet was super quick back then. So, you're waiting 2 hours for like a 30-second clip. But I remember seeing ECW and falling in love with it. And then when Lance first came to WCW, none of my friends at school knew who he was. But I did. I knew because I followed ECW, right? So he became my guy. I was like, oh, you don't know who this guy is? Are you serious? And then like the more I would look into it and, he was my dude, I just wanted to be just like him. So like for me as a kid, being like 14, 15, I'm like, I want to follow in his footsteps. So that like had me going into researching the Hart family and organizing to go over there. Crazy story where like I ended up messaging a guy I found online to get some advice. I don't know how I found it. It was like through like Yahoo Messenger, and like I messaged this wrestler and like he gave me this really good advice. And like for all I know, he couldn't have not been a wrestler, but he gave me really good advice. I did some research. Turns out he was a decent wrestler. Crazy. Here's a big turn of events and like full circle. He gave me all this advice and I just stayed in touch with him every now and then. And when I decided to go over to the Hearts, when I turned 18, I finished high school, got really good grades to prove to my parents that I wasn't an idiot and didn't migrate to this country and have me born in Australia to waste everything and be a wrestler. I wanted to prove them I was an idiot. So, I did right by them. And it didn't work out with the Hearts, which is documented, but it worked out with Lance opening up a school. which was crazy. Like to go from, I want to follow in this guy's footsteps because I admire his work and his work ethic, to being trained by him and being one of the very first students at his school is like mind blowing. And then I guess the way that we became close friends was that Lance lives so far away from Calgary, because like he likes the isolation essentially. I lived that far out as well, and I didn't know that I lived around the corner from him. And he literally would drive me to class every day. So it'd be like a 30-40 minute drive in the morning where he would pick me up. I'd go out to the bus stop, which was like around the corner from his place. He'd pick me up and we'd go to class, and then we'd talk in the morning. And then afterwards, he'd normally either drop me home or drop me at the train station because I go straight to work. So you do that every day for like 3 months. We would chat and get along quite well. And I think it helped that I wasn't crap at wrestling. Like I was actually decent and I took to it quite well. So, that worked. And I was like 18, 19. Like I look like a little boy, like a child. And like he even said to me then, he goes, I don't think you'll ever be a heel because you're too nice and you're too likable. Like you haven't had that world experience. The world hasn't hurt you yet.
I've had people give me that same conversation.
Right. It's like, the world hasn't hurt you yet. So I don't know. So we got close through that. And then I just remember after that show I told you about in Whoop Whoop with the dogs, we were driving back and Lance is asking us, what we're doing for Christmas. Now, at this point, I was working 2 jobs at a mall. So, like I said, we live so far away from Calgary that when I would work, I'd get up before the sun was up to cook my meals and eat, and then like take a train, and then I'd be inside. And by the time I left the second job, I'd be taking a train home at night. So I didn't see the sun for like a good couple of months easily because it was dark. I'd see it through like the window of the mall on my lunch break. So Lance said, what we're doing for Christmas, Derek was spending time with his family. And I said, I'm sleeping in. Like, I haven't slept in for how long since training's ended? And he goes, well, we're having a big family dinner. I've got relatives and all that coming. There's like 13 of us. So one more won't hurt if you want to come have dinner with us. So here I am, losing my mind. Like I'm still 18, 19. I've just got trained by the guy I looked up to so much. And now we have like a level of friendship where it's like I'm still in awe, but like he's invited me to Christmas dinner. So, I got to meet the entire family. Funny story, embarrassing, didn't know what I'm telling you, but I didn't know what to wear, right? Because like, I don't know, like I've never been to like a family dinner before, like, and it's at my hero's house. What do you wear? So I wore a suit, like I wore like dress pants and like a collared shirt, and then like I just remember knocking on Lance's door, and he was in jeans and a tank top. And he goes, you look nice. And I just went, and I looked at everyone behind him sitting at dinner, and everyone's like, in like trackies and shit. And I'm like, oh, no. But, it was the start of what was going to happen, because after that, I went home and visited my mum and surprised her on her birthday. And then when I came back, I went back to Calgary for like 2 weeks on holiday, and Lance had blown his knee out in Japan. And I said, I will stay and help you train the guys and take bumps for you because I can stay in your country without a visa for 6 months. And I ended up staying there and living in his basement. So he had a spare room in his house. So I lived with Lance for 6 months, training and taking bumps for him every day. And then like he became like my adopted dad. So, we would go to the gym with the boys, and the boys like, hey, Carl, are you going to come over? I'm like, yeah, I'll come over. And Lance goes, what time will you be home? I'm like, like 6. He's like, dinner's at 6:30. Don't be late. I'm like, yep, no worries. And they're like, he's like your dad. I'm like, yeah, I know. I got to make sure I'm not late. I don't want to get in trouble. So like, that's what it was. So we got really close through that because he was pretty much like, he's got his 2 daughters, and like, they would say I was like the older brother they never had, and I just hang out and play video games or like draw on the concrete and chalk and stuff. So ever since then, like I looked at Lance not only as a friend and a mentor, but like a father figure. So I really want to live up to the reputation he has and do him proud. And I don't want anyone to look at me and be like, oh, Lance trained him and look negatively, because I feel like it reflects on him. So I always want to make him proud of all the time and effort and chances he's given me. So I guess that's why we have that kind of close bond.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, that's how.
Like I knew you were close with him, but I didn't know he was your dad, pretty much. Like I actually have a story for you. Now I've shared this in the past on an AfterBuzz episode once upon a time.
Yeah.
But here's the thing: I have never personally met Lance Storm.
Yeah.
But he once, in my mind, saved my life.
What?
And,
How?
Yeah, I figured you'd like this story. So I didn't first, like, I started working in pro wrestling when I first moved to California, which would have been September 2005 was my first show. So I'm pushing 15 years soon. And, which obviously is just mind boggling. And I know it is for you too. Like,
Yo, I started in 2005.
Yeah. So where we start around the same time. There you go. And now before I started working shows though, when I was still in college, I was writing like a column for various wrestling websites, you know, just like my opinion on what I'm seeing on TV of blah, blah, blah. And it was like, you know, from like the regular fans perspective, but then I didn't know. I hear a train.
Did you hear the train?
I heard a train.
Why did it have to horn? Why? Like, why? Oh my God.
Before we started recording, Carlo warned me. He's like, there are trains coming by. I'm so sorry. I'm just like, it's fine. Maybe I won't hear anything. It's cool. Don't worry. I mean,
it's real. You want it authentic. It's as real as it gets.
The episode's real now. Thank you. But so when I was in college, like I didn't even know what independent wrestling was. Other like there's WWE, there was WCW and ECW. Those are gone. There's WWE, TNA, and oh yeah, there's this like up and coming thing called Ring of Honor. Like that's all I knew in America. Yeah. And then all of a sudden I get asked to write these, you know, columns on the sites, and all of a sudden, you know, you're finding out all these, you know, the dirt sheets and these insider stuff. And obviously who knows what's real and what's not. But at that time, since I knew no better, I thought I had like the secrets to everything. Since I'm not in the business or anything, I'm just like, ooh, there's all the insider knowledge. I'm now a wrestling genius and all that. So fast forward, I'm at home in Massachusetts on one of my breaks from school. And my brother and I go to a WWE live event in Hartford, Connecticut. So it's a live event. We're going. We have, you know, the live events, especially out there, were much easier to get, like, you know, floor seats, close, you know, to be there for the high fives, get good photos, all that jazz. So we're there, and now this is my first time at a show where I'm like, ooh, I feel like I'm on the inside. I kind of know more things than I should. And since I can be like over around the barricade, I can yell and heckle the wrestlers like the idiot because I didn't know any better back then. So you want to talk about a bizarre tag team match that was on this show. There was the team of Tommy Dreamer and the Hurricane versus the team of Rosie from 3 Minute Warning and Lance Storm.
Whoa, that's so strange.
What an odd, like, as soon as I saw the match, I'm like, what the heck? Why are these four? This match makes no sense. Now, it was literally within like a week or so before that Jamal was released from WWE, which the insider knowledge stuff that I would see. So the entire match, I was yelling and heckling Rosie. And just like, and so I'm like, well, your old buddy's gone. You're soon gonna follow. Like stuff that you should never say.
No.
Stuff you should never say.
No.
And especially when you know nothing. Like at the time, I did not know a damn thing.
Yeah.
So I'm just heckling at him throughout the match, and match finishes. Hurricane and Dreamer win, and Rosie. He's the one who gets pinned, and he powders out of the ring, and he's like right by where I am. So stupid me, I like, you know, take this event, and I yell at Rosie, and I'm like, man, just go to the back, find Jamal, and stay with him. You know, like why would I be saying such awful things?
I don't know. What do you think?
I didn't know any better. I wanted attention. I thought I was a genius. It was before I even knew how wrestling really worked. when I moved out to California. So I was an idiot. Now, Rosie's like, his face is this way. All of a sudden, I get one of these.
Oh no! And he's huge.
And he's a big dude.
Yeah.
He slowly starts getting up to his feet and starts walking to, like, he's maybe like, so I'm here. He's probably at, with the barricade, of course, maybe about here.
Yeah.
You know, like trying to see with my camera, like, you know, like just within a few feet.
Punching distance.
Yeah. We weren't fully socially distant, but it's still too far for him to throw a punch at this point.
Okay, so not quite punching distance. I got you.
So within a few feet, Landstorm, his tag team partner, then ran around the fucking ring. I swore for the first time on my own show just now telling this story. He ran around the damn ring, stopped Rosie, and started rushing him to the back because he could tell, he probably heard me, that like Rosie was about to kick my ass. And he's like, I don't want you getting in trouble for this idiot fan. and
Man.
So I say that Landstorm saved my life.
That's so funny. I wonder if Lance remembers a lot of stuff. Like, Lance has pretty good memory. So I wonder if he remembers that. That'd be really funny to find out.
I hope not.
Hey, Lance, I did this show recently, and I think you remember this guy. That'd be so funny.
You remember this guy who heckled Rosie at a house show in Hartford in like 2003?
Because that sounds like, it sounds odd enough that it might be one of those really odd, rare occasions where you might remember it. Do you know what I mean? Like those really crazy, odd stories. That's really funny though. Well, he did save you. He does that.
Oh, he 100% like, so I've always been a fan of Landstorm, and like from that moment, I'm like, I'm forever.
You're
like once I moved to California, I actually started, like, worked my first wrestling show and really got like my first taste of how it all works. Like my mind went back to that day, and I was just like, oh my God, like Landstorm probably legit saved me. Because I was what everyone in the back.
When did you get clued in? Like, what clued you in? How did you get clued in that, like, I shouldn't be doing this?
Well, obviously, first off, making Rosie angry was one thing. But I think it was just also, well, here, I mean, I love how I'm supposed to be interviewing you and I'm the one sharing stories now, but whatever.
Hey, man, it's just, we catching up. We just catching up.
So here's a real quick story on the very first wrestling show that I ever worked. Because again, I'm still trying to get an idea. So I was the color commentator for this show, and the promoter wanted to almost be like a genius type gimmick. So, you know, come up with all these very unusual facts about the wrestlers during the show. So I was doing what I can to study them, because again, me not knowing really much of anything about indie wrestling, there were only 2 wrestlers that I heard of that were on this show, and they were wrestling each other.
Yeah.
They were Christopher Daniels and Aaron Aguilera, who just within like 6 months left WWE as Jesus. So I'm, you know, trying to do research and stuff, and I find some random website, I don't remember it, who knows how accurate it was, that listed, you know, like various championships that different wrestlers have won. So I look up Christopher Daniels, and I see like the number that it's listed and who he's ahead of and all this stuff. And so I'm, you know, doing everything. I'm, you know, part of obviously the crew setting up the ring. So I was there for 13 hours, obviously first day. I'm doing everything as I should. Right, as every person starts should. So everyone's being, you know, still very, very nice to me. Christopher Daniels couldn't be nicer, super polite to everyone. And, you know, maybe about a half hour or so before we're going to start, I walk up to Chris in the back. I'm so, hey, Chris, I'm sorry to bug you, but I just had a quick question with my, you know, character that I'm doing out on comedy. And Chris was just like, absolutely, you know, brother, no problem. You know, what do you need? How can I help you? And I go like, you know, on this website, it said you had X amount of championship reigns. I just wanted to check and see if that was true.
Website.
and Chris's face, literally he went from like to, and he was like, He was like, bro, I don't know. Just go whatever the website says. I have no idea. It doesn't matter. And it was like that cue of me looking up some information on the website and the star attraction of the show being like, this stuff doesn't matter. I don't care. Who knows?
Yeah.
And like that really triggered something in my mind after I left. Well, like once I walked away from it, I was just like, oh, I should not have done that. And then it was like, oh, I should not have done what I did to Rosie a few years prior.
It all like comes flooding in.
It all came flooding. It's just like, I'm like, so most of the stuff, like it was like that moment I rose. Most of the stuff probably isn't true. And wrestlers shun this. So it's like, I gotta, get out of this. And I was actually at that time, still writing these columns.
Yeah.
And made me really there convinced, like, okay, I got to start kind of trying to wean my way off this and try to just be someone in the business as opposed to someone behind a computer in the business, which ironically, I'm interviewing someone in the business that I'm also in the business of behind my computer. But
It'll see full circle.
Full circle.
Hey, and actually, I didn't even finish. You know what I just remembered? I didn't finish the full circle part. Remember how I said I got advice from a wrestler when I was young on like Yahoo Messenger? Mm-hmm. That wrestler turned out to be Lenny. His name's Lenny, Dr. Luther, who's now in AEW. Yeah. And he's one of Lance's really good friends, which is so strange that the random wrestler I found happened to be friends with Lance. Like, what are the odds? Like,
and someone so known in Japan and now is, all these years later,
yeah,
you see him on Dynamite and Dark every week.
I can't even tell you that when he signed his contract and I saw how excited I was. Like, I'm like, this guy's always been such a good guy. Like, he didn't have to give me advice when I was like 15. Like, when I didn't know anything. He didn't have to take the time to do that. And like, I always felt like he never got his shot. And now, like, he's finally getting to. And if you hear his story of like how many hoops he had to jump through just to even get into AEW, it's crazy. So talk about crazy. Like talk about manifesting and like getting, I don't know, like seeing what you want in your life and just getting it. Like all this happened within my first year of wrestling. Like I did so much in my first year that it set a precedent of like, all right, well, I've done a lot. I've done a lot already, especially for some Australian that like, there weren't even any Aussies on the map at that time who had done anything. I actually got a lot of heat going over there and learning. Some of the local guys here, when I came back to come to Australia, there was a lot of guys that were really, excited and happy for me and, wanted to learn and pick my brain. And I'm still a rookie. So I'm like, I don't know, like I'm still learning too. But there's a lot that were pissed at me because they were like, oh, so you think you're too good to train in Australia? We'll show you how we do it here. And like, it was a rough first couple of years of like breaking in until they realized that I could work and that I wasn't, that I had a good attitude and then I just wanted to be, the best version of me I could be. So, and I guess, the better I got and becoming a little bit of a draw at some companies, like they saw that, it meant more people come to the shows. So they eventually like saw and got to know me for who I am as opposed to some guy who went overseas because he thought it was too good for Australia, which is what their initial opinion was. But that's just wrestling, right? Like,
well, and in the last few years, there have been a number of wrestlers from Australia, obviously, that have erupted in the main, you got Peyton Royce, Billy Kay, Tenille Dashwood, Bronson Reed. I know I'm missing some. Shane Thorne.
Robbie Eagles killing it in New Japan as well. Like, yeah. A lot of decent guys out there.
What do you think? What do you think caused the turnaround for all of a sudden the big companies, the big international companies, to really start putting eyes on the talent in Australia?
I think honestly, I think the biggest thing is that they didn't think there was anything out here. I think the biggest thing for places like Australia and what I've learned with like now Malaysia and Southeast Asia is that they just don't know that there's wrestling there or that like there's people passionate that love it or there's guys that have the knowledge. And I think now that, things like Zoom and the technology is like so much better, they're realizing that there is really good wrestlers out there and giving them a chance. You know what I mean? And I think with WWE expanding and trying to like make NXT worldwide, They gave a chance to a lot of this, and Cruiserweight Classic was a good one. Like Damien Slater from Australia was represented there. So I think once they gave these other countries and places a chance, we've been ready for such a long time. Like we don't get as many opportunities as everyone else. Like when I was over in LA, when I met you and whatnot, and I was working with Dave Marquez, who's given me so much help and advice and been incredible to me. He was amazed and blown away by my hunger and how hard I worked and what I'd accomplished in 3 months in LA. He said, you got a lot done and met a lot of people and did so much and got your name out there in such a short amount of time, faster than most of the guys that live here and have those opportunities. And I just said, look, we don't get them often, and like, especially I'm not the tallest guy in the world. So and I don't sound the way I look is what I get told. Like, you don't look like you sound like that. So, if there's an opportunity or if I see a little crack in the door, I'm going to go in and I'm going to say yes to everything and do my best. And I think a lot of the guys that have broken out in Australia and done amazing things overseas have the same attitude. It's just like, if we see an opportunity, we know that we don't get them often, so we're gonna jump on it. It's like always staying ready, and there's like a bit of an up echelon here in wrestling in Australian wrestling, in that all the really hardworking, really good, talented guys, they all know each other and they put on for each other, and like we only speak highly and try not to get caught up in the bullshit and the drama and politics of what wrestling is. So I know for me personally, I surround myself with only really good, positive people that's going to pull me up on my stuff, give me feedback when I need it. And then I in turn tell them, like, if I eat, we all eat. Like if I go somewhere, I'm going to bring everyone up with me. Like this is, the mountaintop isn't lonely if you bring everyone up with you. So that's what I do. And that's why I started to go, one of my students, Emma, the kid who's incredibly talented and a name that I think a lot of people will start hearing from soon. He's from Malaysia, and that's how I got my connection and stuff over there. And I want to bring some of my students here that are really talented. I got guys that are so talented that people haven't seen yet. Guys like one of my students, like Kaz Jordan, Emmanuel, Jean Wen, and Darcy Moss. These guys are like my guys that are so talented, and girls too. And I just think that people just don't know that we exist yet. They're slowly starting to see, and I feel like COVID may put a bit of a halt on it, but I think those that are ready, and I hope this is with other countries too, and maybe hopefully in LA as well, like once this thing blows over, you're going to see people that were like busting their ass and still working during COVID, or people that took the foot off the pedal and went like, this is my holiday time. So, I haven't stopped grinding since then, and my kids haven't either,
So this might seem like, a pretty broad question, but
yeah.
like you said, how you will seize any opportunity that you see, which is the mindset that anyone in the wrestling business must have if they want to have any type of success. And you're talking, want to share and get to that mountaintop. My question for you is, with all the years that you've been in the business, all the connections that you have with all the people, Luther, Lance Storm, anyone, your school that you have in Australia, you're traveling to the other countries, the influence and everything with Dave Marquez. What is, I don't want to say stopping, but what do you think is like the obstacle that's preventing Carlo Cannon from getting to that mountaintop? Because you have all the tools, you have all the connections, you have the experience. You got the badass school. You were invited to be on the most prestigious YouTube wrestling talk show today. When I say today, I mean like just today, as in the date that we're recording this.
As long as no one else is recording, right? But today,
right?
Today.
Right. Because as of tomorrow, there'll be another one. But as of right now, so what does Carlo Cannon have to do, or what else can you do?
I think that people just don't know I'm around. I think that's it. I think in all honesty, it's like I need to get out there more, and I need to like go and probably be a bit more selfish in that, like I need to go out there and travel and do a couple of things. Like for this year, I thought started off really well. Like when I went to, I debuted in Malaysia this year, in January, February this year, and hit a German suplex and went viral, right? So there was a German suplex that went viral, and there was like millions of views, and it's getting shared and retweeted, and a lot of people didn't know it was me. I had a lot of my names in the business, big names being like, yo, this is you, and people need to know it's you. Like, you need to be plugging it and putting it over and making people look into your stuff because they know, like, they can see how good you are.
Yeah.
And I think that's probably like the biggest thing. Like, I find it's hard, like, especially like being a teacher, I find it very hard to, I need to put myself first, and not always, people say that, like, there's a saying, like, when you're running a race, you need to run, finish it, and come back and help those that need the help. But I find it hard for a long time. I was a youth worker when I was 16, all the way up to like 19, 20 when I got back from Canada. And it's just in my innate nature to kind of I just want to help. I find it hard to not help people that need it. So instead of me finishing my race and leading by example, I'm picking everyone up with me and trying to run with them all. And I need to get that fine balance of, like, not necessarily being cutthroat, but I think putting myself first and doing the best I can to get my best foot forward, and getting out there and doing that. Like, that's what I had planned this year. I had planned to, once I went viral in Malaysia and everyone was talking about it, I'm like, I do have the capability to not, because I feel like I'm consistent. I'm consistently good, but I need to be great more often, and I need more people to see that. So it's about putting stuff out there. I was doing more vlogs. I was putting more content out there, going to Malaysia. Then I got hit up by Singapore and the Philippines. I was like, look, this is an area that needs more eyes, and I could be the face of this area, you know what I mean? And do that, because I look like every minority. I look people think I'm Mexican, I look Mauritian, I look Islander, I'm Filipino, you know what I mean? But I look like everybody. I'm like, hey, I appeal to everyone. So I just need to get out there and get people to understand my name. I didn't want my name to be synonymous with, like, people that go, who should have made it, or who's really good but didn't. Like, that's one of my biggest fears. And that drives me really hard to get my name out there, and maybe I'm too nice. I don't know, but I want to do it the right way. I don't want to ask for favors, and I don't want to be like, hey, can you put my name in there? Or I want them to go, we know who this guy is, and he's really good, and we want him. And it's about making people want me. I'd rather be in demand than the other way. Do you know what I mean? Like, I guess, when you get in the business, I really wanted my peers to look at me and look at my body of work and look at the way I carry myself and say, Carlo is great for the business. Like, he represents the business really well. He's the epitome of what wrestling should be. He's respectful, he works hard, and he has our respect. And I didn't want to be that guy that was like, he got lucky, man. He got an opportunity. Like, he shouldn't be there. He doesn't deserve that. I want people to go, I want to leave the business in a better position than I was before I got in. And I think that now I've proven I've done that, and I'm going to start putting myself first and going, hey, you know what? I'm actually pretty good. And I think my biggest strength would be that I have a great connection with fans. Like, I can connect really well, and I can emote really well. Especially now with my body changing so much. When I was 18 and broke in, I was a cruiserweight, barely like 100 pounds, I don't think. I was tiny. And now I'm like 210, 220. And like I'm a nice big thick boy. So.
And what is your height again?
I'm not the tallest boy in the world, about 5'8".
5'8". So, I mean, you could, like, if it ever came down to this point, based on just your size and your look, if you were to ever dare, and I'm not telling you to shave the head, you're Taz's son.
Yeah, it's funny because I wear that one piece because Taz, I love watching Taz, right? So, like, you know what I mean? Especially with that German suplex now too, right? That went viral. Yeah. So, and I had a mohawk. I used to have a mohawk. I think you met me when I had a long mohawk, actually, back when you met me. I had that like kind of cockatoo gimmick thing. I don't know what was happening with my hair then. No one told me it looked bad. So, no one said. Everyone said it looked good. So I wore it. And no one told me otherwise.
Before we wrap this up, and you're talking about like different things that were viral, I would be remiss if I did not bring up the fact that you tag team with Ken Shamrock. How the hell did that happen? And I want the weirdest Ken Shamrock story.
I have many. Can I tell you, right? Everyone talks about how it's like, don't meet your heroes, blah, blah, blah. I've met all mine, and they've all been amazing and incredible. Like, amazing and incredible. And, like, growing up, like I said, I was very lucky to grow up during the Attitude Era and, like, ECW and all that stuff. So I watched Ken on TV. Now, this company in Australia, because Ken was retired. Ken was done wrestling. And
you were retired for years.
Yeah, I wrestled for this company, BCW, Battle Championship Wrestling there. Really good company to work for. The promoter, Matt, convinced Ken to come out of retirement to, like, have a couple matches or so. And we're flying to Australia and all that stuff. So Ken agreed. And it was funny. I was already booked in a match on TV, which on this show, which was like going to be on TV because there was a bit of controversy behind it. There was a TV show locally here that wanted to do a story in intergender wrestling. And I guess they wanted to paint it as almost like it was really bad and all that stuff. And I'm a big advocate for women's wrestling. And I don't see a problem in intergender wrestling if it's done properly, if it makes sense, if it's not like, if it doesn't look like domestic abuse. I don't want it to look like that. And I think we're performers that are good enough and talented enough to put on a show and wrestle where it doesn't look like domestic violence. So I was wrestling an intergender match that night, and we had like TV camera crew there, and it was like a pretty big deal. And I went over and I almost like just scraped through a victory, and the crowd were losing their mind, and it was really good. The crowd was super hot. It was amazing. And then that night they told us that like one of the tag champions couldn't make the show, like something they had to pull out or something's going on. So they essentially did a thing where they had to, how do I explain? It's like they were going to switch the belts and they wanted to give it to Ken, and they picked me, right? So on paper, if you think about it, like, and this is my argument in intergender wrestling. They say like on paper, I only just scraped over beating a female, and I do semi-comedy at this. It's the only place I do comedy wrestling at this company. And I had a serious match against a female where I just won. And when I came out as Ken's surprise partner, the crowd lost it. And I'm like, this is working. And when we won, I can't even tell you how surreal it felt, because there was a moment where I'm in the ring and we'd won the match and time kind of froze. And I'm looking around, I'm like, I just won a tag championships with Ken Shamrock in like 2019. I'm like, what is happening? Like, what is going on? And it's funny now because Ken and I have become really good friends. And he told me that, like, he goes, when I first met you, I was like, how is this going to work? How are we going to get along, like, with our characters? How is this going to make sense? And then the more we get to know each other and spoke and became friends, he's like, I can't imagine it, like, not working. Like, I spoke to him just the other day and just to check up on him and whatnot. But the funny thing is, it's like, he's had this mystique of being the world's most dangerous man forever. And like,
they still call him the world's most dangerous.
He's the world's most dangerous man. Yeah. And in 3 times that we tagged, I already made him do things that he would never do. And he goes, I don't know how you've managed me to do this, but you have. Like, okay, so here's a good story. We would rib each other. I always joke when we put our matches together, whatever, I'm like, all right, and then Ken's going to do the 450 and then do that. And then Ken starts talking, he's like, there's no way I'm doing it. I'm like, yeah, no, you said you're doing it. So guys, make sure that, and he's laughing. And then I said, oh yeah, like Ken's going to do a dance and all this stuff, blah, blah, blah. Ken's got his really good dance moves. You got to see it. So I joke around and rib him with that. And then he had to get on the mic to promote our next match. I think it was like, he had this big serious thing with Dan Severn, right? They had a match in Australia, which is crazy, right? Dan's video plays, and he's all angry, and I'm calming him down. I'm like, "Don't worry, it's all good. Let's not worry about it." He gets in the mic and says, "You know, I'm going to take Dan out, blah blah blah. But you know what? Tonight, Carlo's going to do a dance." And I'm like, like he tried to rib me and throw me underneath the bus in front of the crowd. I'm like, "I'm going to get you. I'm going to get you for this. Don't you dare!" And then like this is like, oh my god, it's somewhere online. It's literally my favorite thing ever. We had to do a match on the impromptu in Sydney the following night. It was supposed to be me and Ken defending our tag titles against this team called Generation Zero from Perth, and we beat them the night before. It was going to be a rematch, but in Sydney. Okay. But there was flight problems because Taya Valkyrie was there. See, I'm still repping her brand. So Taya there. We go way back, and Johnny before he was re-signed to WWE was there as well. So they had their own individual matches, but their people that were wrestling couldn't make the flight. Something happened, so they put them as a tag in a triple threat, no DQ tornado style match for the titles in the main event. Nuts. This is one of the most fun matches I've had in my entire life. I've never laughed so many times in the ring, and watching it back is hilarious. But I had an idea because this was the one of the last times that we would have Ken on the show. So I told Generation Zero and Johnny, I said, "Listen, I'm gonna rib Ken, but you have to don't let him leave after the match. I'm gonna thank the crowd, and I'm gonna rib Ken. So don't let him leave." They're like, "What do you want us to do? How are we gonna stop him? How are we gonna?" I'm like, "Just hold him." And he's like, "He's gonna punch us. He's gonna kill us. There's no way." So I go to Taya. "Taya, hold him. He's not gonna hit you. He's not gonna push away. It's like, just hold him." She's like, "All right, cool." So I thank the crowd. I go this and I go, "Look, listen, we've got a special surprise for you tonight. Ken's gonna," and then as I'm saying it, "Oh, the surprise! The surprise is here. The surprise is happening."
I don't know what's happening right now.
Oh my God, you're about to see what is about to happen. Oh, where's your, hello,
that's Paul London. Paul London can't hear us.
You can't hear us? We can hear. Can you say something?
Paul London and I go way back.
Why isn't your audio working, Paul? Can you hear us? You can't hear us, can you? You have to reconnect. My surprise was Paul was going to come and say hi.
Dude.
Because, well, what I was going to tell you is that me and Paul are starting a podcast.
That's awesome.
So you can't hear us?
Paul can't hear anything, but I see him. You know,
we can see you. Reconnect, Paul.
Paul, text me back.
Hold on, I'm going to text him right now.
You know,
reconnect. Oh my God, there you go. So I've just told him to, there you go. He's connecting his audio. How good's that for a surprise? Look at you.
Oh, I love my boy Paul London.
Paul
London.
I know, we were talking, I was telling him about you and
he's like,
I'm going to come and surprise. I'm like, I'll give you the Zoom code. But now he's having technical difficulties.
Well, try to finish your story real quick.
I figured it out.
You can hear us now?
Oh,
I figured it out.
Yes.
Paul,
God damn it. What a retard.
Hey, Paul, we got
sorry.
matching hair at the moment. Look.
Yeah, yours is still better.
Look at you. Should have seen Josh's face.
Josh looks better than all of us. Josh is the best looking one of the three of us.
I know.
Stop.
This awesome backdrop. You're like on Dark Side of the Ring. I'm like, what? Was Josh like being interviewed for like a documentary? Like,
I'm actually interviewing him.
All of a sudden, I was supposed to be interviewing Carlo, and all of a sudden I started sharing stories, and then you showed up to be like if I'm having someone from my past arrive.
This is Josh. This is your life.
This is God. What's happening here, Paul? It's been far too long.
Far too long.
You're not texting back, or you always change your number?
Well, I need to update my number, I think is the
Josh, I need to tell you, getting a hold of Paul is like the hardest thing in the universe. But
know.
once you get a hold of him, it's even better.
Leprechaun. Yeah, it's easier to catch a leprechaun.
I've gotten to work with Paul at wrestling shows and comedy shows out here. So
Yes.
I love
more.
Actually, one of the, and Paul, I don't think I've actually ever even told you this. So since you showed up on the show, might as well reveal this. One of the greatest like feel-good moments that I ever had at a wrestling show was because of Paul. And yeah, this is true. There's 100.
A hot dog and a Coke.
No, you gave me Diet Coke, which was what it was. No, it was. So Paul worked for a company that I was play-by-play commentator for a number of years called IWL, the Insane Wrestling League.
Oh yeah.
And Paul,
we meet there.
That's where we first met many years ago.
Yeah.
That's where we first.
Yeah.
And so we, he did a number of shows with them, which was always great. And one time, my dad was actually in town from the East Coast, and that was the first time he's ever been to a show where I was doing commentary on. And so now it's not like live to everyone in the arena; it's being recorded. But so my dad sat nearby so he can hear me while watching the show, and afterwards we're going, my dad's talking to me and I'm kind of saying byes to everyone, and Paul came up to say bye. My nickname at the time was the voice of choice, was like a nickname that
right.
they had me.
Still is, in my opinion.
Oh, damn you, Paul.
It's my truth.
But so just very nonchalantly, like I introduced Paul to my dad as and my dad doesn't really watch much wrestling, so he doesn't know who's who or anything like that. I probably could have introduced him, Paul, as Goldberg to him, and he would have believed me.
They look the same, though.
You're next.
But so I just introduced my dad to Paul, and Paul just immediately was like, your son's one of the best commentators I've heard in a long time. He's our voice of choice. Like, he makes these matches so much. And I'm just like, oh my God, this. Like, I didn't ask him. He's like giving all these compliments to my dad about me, and it just made me all warm and fuzzy inside.
That's
good, man.
What a good. See, Paul's the best. The best.
And I can take this moment because he wasn't preparing, and I want to ask Paul, why did you lie to my dad like that?
The promoter gave me an extra $10.
Got it. Okay, that answers the question. Perfect.
No, if we know who that promoter was, we certainly know that wasn't the case.
No.
I didn't lie. I mean, I think commentators are. I mean, I think anyone who's watched AEW knows that commentators, like good commentators, are hard to come by, and so, I have to watch AEW on mute if I watch it at all. So I think it's important to have credibility in every department, and I've always thought you added a ton of credibility to the shows, just not just in your professional appearance, but just in your drive to do the job, like get the info out in a professional way so that it feels like a sport. To me, I've always respected those guys better. I mean, I remember having pretty nice little exchange and friendship with Mike Adamle when he was at WWE for like a cup of coffee, and everyone hated him. And I liked Mike Adamle. He was like the voice of American Gladiators when I was a kid.
Yeah.
And forever. And he fucked up one thing on a pay-per-view and never had to live it. When he called Jeff Hardy Jeff Harvey.
Right.
On pay-per-view, and now it's like forever and etched in Botchmania. But I just love professionalism. I think anything, we're all like the three of us, we're all of the types that love the art of it as opposed to the video game aspect of it. And so we're always trying to add credibility to what we're doing. And so you're one of those guys. You're one of us in that regard, instead of the marks that get into it just to jerk themselves off in the mirror, which is very common.
I would say thank you.
Yeah, no, it's very common. No, I love your work, man. I always have. So
As soon as I mentioned that I was doing your show, I was telling Paul, and he was like, "I love that guy." I'm like, "Yeah, you should come crush it. It'd be really funny." So, he did.
and then I said I don't want to cheat Josh out of his Carlo time because I know it's valuable.
I mean, he is
No, it's
he
fine.
is 17 hours away from me right now. Like he's in the future.
I'm in the future.
Yeah, what time is it there? Like 4 a.m. You're like at this building? Like
No, man, it's 12 o'clock. It's lunchtime. I'm at my school. Okay, like it's like
lunchtime. It's
Yeah,
noon
man.
on Saturday.
yeah, it's noon on
Really?
Saturday here. Yeah, that's you
Like
never know.
Saturday.
Carlo asked me. We were
Sunday.
the other day, and he asked me. We were talking, and he's like, "Dude, I'd love for you to hop in one of my promo classes to do like improv game stuff. Like, I would absolutely love to do that. That'd be great." He's like, "Yeah, it's at about 2 a.m. your time." I'm like,
Yeah, Paul did.
Yeah.
Paul stayed up to like 5 a.m. and like helped teach my class. So Paul
I
got
think
on
Paul
and it was
froze.
like 5 o'clock in the morning. I think he's
Paul
currently
froze.
frozen. It's frozen on a very nice picture of him though. He's
We
he looks
lost
very
Paul.
calm and peaceful.
I love that shit. I love that. Are you kidding? Sorry, I'm trying to schedule myself for a job real quick.
I just knew that if Paul jumps on, it's going to be fun because we're doing our podcast together. We're going to start, but I'm going to get a hold of him first. So you might do a podcast one every couple of months, but when we release them, they're going to be good.
Every couple of months.
Yeah. That's basically how it runs. I remember one time I got booked. Paul got me booked when I was up there when I'd met you that time. Paul got me booked like in Vegas, and I remember we drove up there. It was a lot of fun. The show was over, and then everyone kind of disperses and does their own thing a little bit. And I was staying in Paul's room. Me and Paul was like, we had our own beds. It was tremendous. And next thing we know, we can't find Paul. We can't find Paul for ages. And now the other boys that are driving back, we've got a show on Sunday, and this is Saturday. And the boys go, "Listen, Carlo, you're in charge of Paul. We have to leave at 6 o'clock in the morning to get home in time for the show. If Paul's not here, we're leaving without him. So you have to find him." And I'm like, "It's 1 o'clock. I don't know. Like, we're at a casino. It can't be that hard to find him." I did a few laps. I'm like, you know what? I'm going to get some sleep. I'll wake up early and I'll go to find him and see where he went. Literally, as I get into bed. So I lie in bed, right? I get comfy. I'm like, all right, I'll set my alarm. I set my alarm for like 4:30 to go looking. So I'll get 2 hours. I'll find him. As soon as I put my phone down, the door opens. And here comes Paul in his bright green, like Hawaiian shirt with a banana split. And I'm like, "Where did you get a banana split at like 2 o'clock in the morning?"
Still open. Baskin Robbins, Sam's Town.
Oh my God.
If there's any description that symbolizes Paul London more perfectly, it's the bright green shirt with a banana split, slaundering into a hotel room.
Oh, it was so. I was just laughing. So then I got online and we were just filming videos and stuff, and I was dying from laughter. And like, I have this rib. I always rib Paul, and like
we have footage of that banana split, don't we? Don't you have footage of that?
I do. He's in bed, and I'm talking about how I'm here with the two-time tag team champion, former tag team champion Paul London, and then he looks at me and goes, "I'm the unlimited time ice cream champion," and he's just like,
fucking upstart banana split champ. Jesus Christ.
So he's the unlimited time ice cream champion. That's who you're talking to.
That's right. That's right, guys.
I already felt honored prior to knowing this fact. Now
I was just putting down a few splits just now. That's what took me so long to get on here. I was just downing a few full bananas.
Well, Paul, hopefully, hopefully maybe like we'll actually have a legit DM or text conversation, and we can, schedule time where I have you just on the show, and then maybe if Carlo wants to do a run in on that, he's welcome to.
That would be great. That would be great.
I'll definitely write.
I'm trying to remember. who were the two? It was Brandon Gatson, and then there was, I'm trying to remember who the fourth guy was.
It was Ryan Taylor.
Oh yeah, that's right. I worked with
Ken Taylor.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they told me, I'm pretty sure they said, listen, we're gonna show the next day that you're on. Find him. I'm like, where did he go? Oh my God! It's like we're stuck
about
in
the
this
nerd?
casino, like in Mesquite. It was like out of.
Oh yeah, it was in Nevada. I was on that show also. I think. Like,
You
wasn't
were.
I? I don't
Of
remember.
course, you're on the show. You wrestled. You're on the show.
Oh yeah, but I'm saying the one in Mesquite. Yeah, because we did Vegas and then Mesquite, right?
Yeah, Vegas was for my birthday. Paul got me
Oh,
booked
that's right.
on my birthday. He says, come along, I'll get you booked. He spoke to the promoter. He's like, yeah, man, you're booked. I'm like, sick. And it was the dark match. He goes like,
Oh, yeah.
I was like,
that wasn't my call.
no, but I was happy just to get booked. I was happy to get
That's
booked.
Joe DeFalco for you.
And then we went around and just, what's it called? We walked around Vegas on my birthday and just like,
That was a good
yeah.
time.
It was just fun. Yeah, we've got so many times. I can't even tell you. Like, was that the trip on the way back where we went to the abandoned theme park? Was that?
Yeah, we found this like abandoned. It wasn't like a water park, but it wasn't like a theme park because it didn't look like there were rides there, but it looked like, I don't know. It looked like bedrock or something, you know, like.
Yeah, we weren't meant to be there though. That's a white person thing. You don't go to play like that's where people die. Like, and Paul's like, let's go. We spent literally an hour trying to figure out how to get in there, and he was getting angry because he couldn't find the entrance. And then
we found it.
the
We drove up that road. Yeah,
we found a dirt road that led us up to this hill. We walked around there. It was scary. There was this massive silo, and on the silo it says, "Knock twice." For something or whatever. And I'm like, Paul's like, should I knock? I'm like, no, don't knock. What
there were like pillows and stuff inside, right? There were like pillows and blankets and stuff in there.
There was blankets and pillows. I'm like, do not knock. Let's go. Let's get out of here. And as we left and got in the car, we're driving. This truck pulls up and cuts us off, like blocks us. And then he rolls down his window and he says, what are you guys doing here? And we're just like, oh, sorry, man. We just took a wrong turn. It's like, you're there for a long time to be on a wrong turn. And we're like,
oh, yeah.
Yeah, we're like, sorry. And like, Paul didn't see, but there was someone in the car next to the dude, like, just like this, like, looked like they were sleeping or dead. I don't know. And he goes,
loading a gun.
Yeah. And I was like, we need to go. He's like, sorry. And Paul like drives off the road onto the dirt and we drive away. And as we're driving on the, like, back on the, like, freeway, whatever, we can see this car following us on the dirt path the whole way. It was scary.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, you almost got me killed. I was terrified.
You wouldn't have gotten killed. You're more exotic. You would have been held for sex trafficking.
I'll be the first one dead. Don't you watch horror movies? I look like every minority. I'll be the first one to die. 100%.
Those are bad horror movies. We're in the new era here, okay? You would be what would be called the final girl.
Are you saying I'm hot? Am I the hot final girl that they make a sequel?
Yes. You would be the final. You would be the exotic final. Plus, like, you'd look more minority-ish than me, and so you know that's like a huge thing in studios now. So like, you'll definitely survive.
Well, does this make me the inbred in the truck? Is that?
Yeah, you're like you get killed in prologue.
I'm the guy before the title of the movie comes out.
Yeah.
Nothing in here. Stuff black.
What's that noise? You the one that?
Yeah, you're the caretaker of the property.
Like that.
Yeah. It's just dark, and then the door slams open, and there's just light shining. It's Josh's silhouette. He walks in there. He's like, I know y'all are in here. I told y'all not to come to my theme park. And, yeah, then you die.
And then I die.
And then we show up, and then I die, and Carlo lives.
Well, I tried to record the whole thing, and, like, I think we were using that live gimmick. It's called Periscope. It's like that live, first ever, like, live gimmick thing. So I was trying to Periscope the whole time, but we weren't. It was the reception was so bad that it kept cutting out, and that's where I thought I'm going to die here because that's what happens. You know what I mean? Like,
Even though it was like out in the open.
When you don't have good Wi-Fi, that's when you think you're going to die.
facts. Yeah.
But like we were literally right off the highway. We were a lot safer. I mean,
There was no one there. Josh,
That's
no one
true.
had been here for like decades. I'm telling you, like,
was that where we devised The Hills Have Guys?
you're giving away your favorite movie plot.
Oh, yeah. I developed a movie idea called The Hills Have Guys. And because it was like, could you imagine if all these dudes just like started popping up on the mountaintop, like the range? You just see these silhouettes of like naked dudes, and they're all like there's so many of them. Where'd they come from? Like, descend, and they just start coming down towards us. Where do we hide? And in that case, I would throw you in front of me, and you probably would die first.
How dare you? We're supposed to be in this together. Why can't we run together? Why are you gonna push me in front?
No,
of
we can. That's what I meant. Like throw you towards them. It's an attack. It's a double team move. Slingshot. You reverse.
Yeah, good save.
Splash on one of the dudes.
I'm not splashing naked dudes, bro.
Yeah. They're like, come on.
Well,
did you get the trespassing?
On that note, we should probably start wrapping this week's edition up. But real quick, promote the podcast that may or may not happen.
Well, I mean, we're just going to be talking about gimmicks. I mean, our life is about gimmicks. It's the gimmick life. Yeah. So we'll be doing like a Zoom kind of call like this, and just pretty much talking about what you just witnessed was a bit of a taste of what our podcast will be.
That's a sneak preview of what this upcoming podcast will be.
Yeah. So we'll go into an in-depth conversation and plot storyline of The Hills Have Guys. Right?
Yeah.
Like,
it's really the quintessential parallels between professional wrestling and real life. And how it works. We are constantly being worked by somebody, and there are gimmicks. There is an endless array of gimmicks.
The gimmick. All about the gimmick. So you'll know.
I used to call my girlfriends gimmicks. By the way, they're not around anymore.
Yeah. Well, I mean, everyone's Paul's best friend, so I'm trying to compete and try to.
Your best mate.
No, everyone's your best mate. Don't even. So. Well, so, Josh, I told you your show was going to record a lot longer tonight because.
And this was a good reason why. And I just really hope that you guys will consider me as a future guest on this podcast as well.
And we'll even have a role for you in The Hills Have Guys, for sure.
Yeah, reoccurring. He dies and comes back as other characters.
All of a sudden,
and then we find out that he was actually. He was a quadruplet or whatever. What are those quintuplets?
Quintuplet.
But it was the fifth one that actually is the murderer.
That's right.
Yeah,
that's right.
There you go.
The fourth one is in charge of The Hills with Guys. Fifth one doesn't like that stuff. Very religious.
Actually, it should be plot twist. Somehow they all die out of order.
I like that.
So the third one dies first somehow.
See?
Yeah.
It was a good idea. I knew it.
There you go.
So we're not sure when this podcast is coming, but it'll show up eventually. Just like the guys show up out of nowhere in The Hills of Guys, this podcast will just show up and it's going to be like, wow, you are not ready.
Just problems arise in our life.
And the title of this episode is going to be The Hills Have Guys.
Well,
this is a small hill. It's a small hill, but it's very guy-ridden.
It's very guy-heavy.
Promote your social medias if you want.
Put them out. Paul doesn't use social media.
Find me. Mine?
Paul's
sure. I don't really use them so much anymore. I haven't used Instagram in over a year. Maybe almost 2 years, and I only use Twitter.
Is there any way for fans to interact with Paul London?
There isn't. Through me. If you want to message Paul and you want me to pass on messages, you can find me at Carlo Cannon on everything. At Carlo Cannon on Twitter,
right.
On Instagram, on TikTok, on Snap, all of it. At Carlo Cannon, you'll find. Yeah,
TikTok.
I'm a TikToker. You're not around, Paul. So someo's got to dance and get your attention, okay? I'm renegading, doing all
Paul,
that.
I'm with you on that. I'm not on TikTok.
Well,
I don't use anything that rhymes with cock.
Follow me on Twitter and Instagram at Josh_Tariff, YouTube.com/Josh Tariff. New episodes of Josh Talks come up every Tuesday. Like, subscribe, tell your friends. This has been Carlo Cannon with a surprise run-in from the Paul London. I'm Josh Tariff. Thank you so much for hanging out. We'll see you guys next week.
Bye.
Ciao.